Let's recreate this sound. So this is kind of a basic bass sound, but it also has some ghost kind of thing going on top of it. So I'll just show you through exactly all the steps that you need in order to recreate this sound. So let's get through and understand how to use all these tools, all these sections here in order for us to create that sound. First of all, we need to understand everything starts from our oscillator. So this is the most important part and the very first part of creating our sound. So I'm using layer 1 and layer 2. We can take off layer 2 because this is just a ghost note that is running on top of our bass. So I can take it off and let's have just layer 1 here. Now I've used two oscillators. Oscillator 1 is a sawtooth, just a basic sawtooth, and oscillator 2 is a sine wave. Both of them are tuned down 1 octave. If we go here to the tuning, you can see in the upper panel here that I'm tuned 1 octave down. Now for the sawtooth, I also added a second voice, 2 voices here. This is just to create some more thickness and presence to the sound. So now this is how we have things set up. But I've also added a modulation oscillator, mod 1. Mod 1 is just a simple sine wave, not tuned to anything in particular. I've decreased the volume just a bit, and what it does, it adds some more modulations on top of the sawtooth here. And if we take it down, you'll sense a very subtle but very important kind of addition to the sound when we have it in. So I'm gonna play with and without. With. So it adds some kind of a springy kind of vibe into our sound. So if we will use an oscilloscope, then you'll see the effect, but we're not going that deep. But you can have your sound with or without. It's a matter of taste, but I've added it. So it's basically what it does. We're using the sine wave from mod 1 to modulate, to change how oscillator 1 is behaving. And again, oscillator 1 is a sawtooth, so basically we are deforming, we are shaping that sawtooth using mod 1 oscillator. So that's the idea here. And going back to our basics here, so this is the oscillator part. Now the some would say very important part of the sound design is the filter. And right now this is how we are set up. The cutoff point is is pretty low because this is a bass. But let's get the filter out of the way and listen to the sound. So we have a lot of frequencies in the upper range, and when we're engaging the filter, we're just cutting off those high frequencies. We can manually move things around and find the speed, the sweet spot where we like the sound. So this is again a matter of taste, and we can add just a bit, a tiny bit of resonance to give the sound its character. Now, if we automate, if we make any changes to the cutoff over time, for example, using an LFO or an envelope, then that resonance will have a more present effect. Right. So for me, this is pretty much the spot where I want things to be. Now, we also want to have a little bit of a, kind of a gritty sound into the filter. So I have a pre-gain, meaning I'm gonna boost the sound just a bit before entering the filter, but I'm also going to drive the filter just a bit to give it more presence. So let me give you, just an example how it would sound with and without those parameters, and I'm also including some distortion after the filter. So these are just spices on top of things that we have. You don't have to use it, but it's definitely something you should be experimenting with. So let's get everything down here, no distortion, no nothing, and let's hear it. Let's get some pre-gain. Let's drive, and let's get some distortion after the filter. So this is the sound that I wanted. Again, it's very much up to you and up to your taste and experimenting. So I could easily be waking up in the morning and thinking, let's do something else. Let's just get the distortion before the filter. So would it sound different? Yes. Would it be completely different? I guess not really. So it's just something to add to your sound. So this is what we have here. And next we have our envelope. And the envelope will shape how this sound evolves over time, meaning when I'm playing the keyboard, how fast will the attack be, and should we have sustain, release, whatever. So as you can see here, the attack is very fast, meaning I want to have that snap sound. So if we play with that, you'll hear the effect. So the shorter the attack, the more snap we have. Then I have the slope. So the slope here, it's not very important for us right now, but just to give you a sense of what it does, it just brings you into the attack, in different ways. Next, we have our release. So I always like to work with the attack and release first, and then I'm working with the decay and sustain. So the release will be the parameter that controls, how much time would it take for the sound to fade away once I remove my finger from the keyboard. So it's also related to when you're playing several notes, how you transition from one note to another. So right now it's just here in the middle, and it's it's something that you need to experiment and find the sweet spot for yourself. But let me show you how it's set. So this is a very short release time, meaning the minute or the second I remove my finger from the keyboard, the sound will just disappear. So this is how it sounds. Now, so this is the place that I like, and you can have, you can overdo it. But again, it's up to you. So this is the idea here. And then we have the sustain level and the decay time. So the sustain is very, very low, meaning that when I press the key, the sound will reach its maximum level, and then it will drop to almost nothing after the decay time. So the decay time is important, meaning I'm gonna set this kind of a timer. So as long as I'm pressing the key, this timer will kick in, and after 1 second the sound will fade away. So let's experiment with that. But it doesn't fade away completely because we still have some sustain here. So I'm just having just a bit of sustain, so I'll still have some sound while I'm pressing the keys. Now again, that's the idea here, and I can have more sustain, a little bit more release, And that's it. So now I'm almost done, and I have two effects running here, and you don't have to use them. So let's remove them. The first one is distortion. So let's go to FX, distortion. This is the distortion. I just like to have a little bit of grit into the sound, so I have it mixed like a third of the way. And you can play with the drive here to your taste. I also have a phaser. So the phaser will give another kind of spice into the sound. You don't really have to use it, it's up to you. And you can go on and play with the sounds as you like. So let's go back to our layer here. So this is pretty much it, and we have most of the things in place. The last thing that I've done here is to add the second layer, and this gives us that ghostly note on top. So let's go to layer 2, and this is a simple sine wave, and it's not tuned to anything in particular, just a sine wave. I have a bit of filtering here, removing some of the high frequencies, and I have a reverb on. Now let's hear it by itself. So it's very quiet, right? Nothing very abrasive, really behind. And I have a reverb in the insert here. So if we go to our effects here, you can see the reverb is on, and it's just set to your taste, whatever you like. Not too much, not too little. So, and also we have an envelope here. So what we see here in terms of envelope is that the attack is not really long. It's a very short attack, and we have some decay here. Sustain level is pretty high, and then we have some very short release time, but still something. So what happens is that the sound is really going off and actually stopping very quickly, but the reverb will take it from there. So if I remove the reverb, you'll hear the idea here. Right, this is very short, almost nothing, right? But when I add the reverb, and that's it. So let's get both of the layers together. And this is pretty much it. So if we want to have, maybe a play here with some arpeggiator or sequencers, we can do that as well. So let's go to layer 1, and we have our arpeggiator here. And this is just to have a bit of fun. Right, so this is it. So we've created or recreated the sound, and I hope this is a good example for you. So that's it for now. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next example.